Good evening and welcome back to Ideas at Work and Beyond. We have Al Robinson here, the man with your Hat City blog that frankly is probably more influential than any publication in town. Is that true or not?
Well, I don't know all about that, but it's okay.
All right, we're delighted you're here. We have the former mayor of Danbury, Gene Iroquez. We're glad you're here. And we have political consultant extraordinaire Matt Grimes and myself, Marty Heiser. Now, Matt, this evening you would like to talk about Eliot Spitzer and the comings and goings of his problems in politics right now. What's on your mind? And by the way, don't hesitate to call 203-792-4101. We'd like to get your input.
It's a very, very important time for the Tri-State because this is in 3.5 years we've had a governor resign from each of the Tri-States, all engulfed in scandal. One in an alleged homosexual affair and giving out jobs to cronies and getting World Bank pins and such. One excuse was used for the others. Another one, our own governor, probably I think he was the longest serving governor in Connecticut history in this century, John Rowland, in late 2004, with respect to racketeering and allegedly getting work done on his Litchfield condo, which turned into misleading the public and a lot of other things. And this one is the most unique, I think, because it's Eliot Spitzer, who was an energetic attorney general for many years. This guy prided himself on cleaning up downtown Manhattan, not cleaning it up like we think of the World Trade Center cleaning up, but cleaning up the problems with Wall Street, the white-collar crime, the people that were insider trading, the people that were the insurance companies that were cheating, that kind of thing. And this is a man who prosecuted a lot of people and brought a lot of people to justice in a way that hadn't been done before. And he rode that tidal wave that he created from being state attorney general that you can do in a position like that to being governor of the Tri-State. And it just is amazing to me, and I think it was amazing to a lot of people when on, geez, what was it now, not even 10 days ago, we see this governor and his wife coming out on the stage in his Midtown Manhattan office saying that I have private failings. And
well, luckily he was replaced by another governor who's clean as a whistle, and there doesn't seem to be any problems with that governor.
To a certain extent, but it's almost like it's like
that
the people
was facetious.
But there's a certain amount of truth to it, because this is somebody who got 66% of the vote. No one clears 55% of the vote in New York statewide, Democrat or Republican. No one does that. And when you have your governor as a chief executive officer, it's a stepping stone to President of the United States. There was talk of Senator Obama got this nomination, that Governor Spitzer might be one of the people he considers because Senator Clinton's from New York. He needs to run with a governor, that kind of thing. But now that's all out the window. I mean, this man went from being a very popular governor when he took office. He lost a lot of support because of battles with the legislature, and now had private failings. And I think that, I mean, when a chief executive officer betrays the public trust, and I want to ask Gene about this because Gene worked with somebody who was our governor for many years, John Rowland, when he was a congressman, and then and then a governor. I mean, it just takes you. It's hard to see these guys be so high and then fall so low.
Well, it's difficult regardless of which party you belong. I mean, they're personal tragedies. These are people that we hold in high esteem and high regard. And clearly, you know, we're all human beings, we make mistakes. And these have been very public and tragic ones. Certainly working here in the state of Connecticut with former Governor Rowland, I certainly had a great deal of respect for his political acumen. I did not agree with him nor his particular approach to governing more than many of his policies. During the course of his tenure. Nonetheless, there's a mutual respect that I think people have within elected capacities when you share in the decision making and determining what the present and future impact will be upon your cities, towns, and state.
What do you think, Al? What can you add to the discussion?
Blogger, that's just an average joke guy. I think what Spitzer did was a terrible situation. It reeked of hypocrisy.
I think that's what got people the most. Because he was the mayor of Wall Street. He was a steamroller that was going to come in and right every wrong.
He set the traps for the prostitution.
He prosecuted prostitutes. I don't know if we can get a
Well,
shot
we got
on
it.
it.
Is this Newsweek or is
This is Newsweek. That's all. Just keep going. This is like low-tech
Wall Street
graphic.
just went to a big celebration. It was like New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah. Remember the one guy? They had him on TV. They said, something like, there's a hot place in hell, and I hope his is really hot, or something like that. It was. He said it better than I could.
It was a terrible situation for him, and I feel awful for his family. I feel terrible that his poor wife had to be brought up there on the stage, on the podium, and endure that stuff in front of the cameras. And I feel bad for them and their kids.
There's a sense of deja vu, though, isn't there? Haven't we seen this before? Didn't we see it with McGreevy? Didn't we see it with some other folks?
But at least unlike John Rowland, who there's no comparison between Spitzer and McGreevy and Rowland. Rowland put the state of Connecticut through hell for over a year, and put his wife up there to do the Christmas Eve home, blasting the media for saying that they were lying when they were actually telling the truth. Put the state through living hell for what he did, and then admitted it at the last minute. At the very least, if any consolation, these two guys, at least Spitzer, stepped up because he was caught, basically. Said, look, I did it, I resigned, stepped down, and moved out of the way, and let the transition happen. So the state didn't have to go through this enormous pain, which really ruined Connecticut. I think, when was Rowland out? 2004?
3.5 years ago.
Terrible moment.
They were both out in the same month, McGreevy and Rowland. I got a caller coming in, and then I want to ask Al something.
Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening. Guess who this is?
Mr. Monda, how are you tonight?
All righty. Gene, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Mr. Arquez, excuse me. I always wanted to build a boathouse similar to your home that you own there. It's pretty cool when I drive by. Hey,
you want to build a boathouse?
He said hi, Marty.
Hello. Good to see you.
A reproduction house of a shipbuilder's home where they used the bow ribs of a ship.
Bow house, okay.
The bow house. It's pretty neat. I don't know if Gene's still there, but it's a neat-looking house. I never knew it was his until the gentleman from Bow House.
All right, besides stalking former mayors of Danbury, what are your thoughts?
Okay. So,
sorry, I don't mean to be rough.
Okay. Mr. Robinson, how you doing?
Mr. Monda, how are you?
Al Robinson, I understand you're Matt Paulson's former roommate in college.
That's what they're saying nowadays, I guess. Back down there in Bethler talking about down at Molten Java.
Pardon me?
What?
Is that what you guys are saying down there at the coffee house nowadays?
Oh, no, I thought someone said that you were his roommate in college.
My good friend on the phone.
I think that might be the person that started the rumors on the phone right now.
That's your question.
Go ahead.
What rumor?
Well, please, go ahead.
Why do you feel you have to attack people personally in your blog? There was a little friend of mine, a little Jewish lady named Betty, who spoke at the vigil. The leftists in Danbury had a vigil
Do we have a question?
a few months ago for the illegal aliens rounded up by the government.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna be the referee here. You have a good question.
Betty showed up. Betty showed up and said we should have a vigil for the kids that were killed down in New Jersey. And the blog attacks the lady personally.
All right, let him answer that. Thank you. Let him answer.
Thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, what actually happened is that.
Hold on. Go ahead.
What actually happened is that I think the moment he's talking about was actually that individual came up and verbally started screaming during a religious ceremony that was being held at Kennedy Park, and I talked about that. So
you put that on the blog.
Put that on the blog, but that's Frank Monda for you.
Okay.
Can I ask Al a question?
Yeah, please, by all means.
Okay, you, as a blogger, I mean, when the Spitzer story broke, I mean, we know the New York Times we've now heard the New York Times spent better part of the weekend researching it, probably to prove that they weren't just biased against Republicans, but...
yeah, I mean, they
went after Senator
got a little
McCain.
more bang for their buck than the McCain story, that's for sure. But
and Spitzer didn't get any donations from that, McCain did.
Yeah, McCain's the money flooded into his campaign.
My question is, how big is something like this for bloggers now? More so than it was in 2004 when you had McGreevy and then Rowland. I mean, because they said it was the bloggers that really got this out.
I think it's a little different. Well, of course, one thing about the blogs that I think is amazing is that the blogs have the ability to jump on these stories before the mainstream media does.
It's unbelievable.
Even more important, we're able to correct the media when they're wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And trust me, as I know very well that people read blogs, especially in the media.
Yeah, even when George Bush was running this last time, and they supposedly had some document that was from the 1960s having to do with his draft record, and then the bloggers found out that, wait a minute, there's font on this document, and I think it was Dan Rather who ran with the story.
And had to apologize. And lost his job.
Yeah, absolutely.
The blog was called Little Green Footballs. It's a conservative blog, and the person who runs that did a great job analyzing that.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but the one other thing that Fox News has a central, campaign headquarters, if you've seen it, real high tech and everything. They have the news, they have the pollsters, and then they cut to the blogger's desk. What are the blogs saying? I mean, you guys are incredibly powerful.
But it speaks a lot to that too, because the bloggers also were the ones that found out where this young woman had come from, what she had done. It was not the press that found that out.
Ooh, what are we talking about? Spitzers?
Yes, I mean.
No, the feds were on the top of that from the get-go.
Yeah, but the bloggers are the ones that got it out. Yeah.
There's good and bad things in terms of blogs. With the Spitzer story, it depends. How far down the rabbit hole do you need to go with that story? Do you need to find the woman, you find out her background, find out that she did videos on Girls Gone Wild? Do you need to dig that far in
Well,
that
you
story?
need to get her song, you got to download that on your iPod.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how far you need to go in that story, especially because the story is now over. He stepped down from office, and there needs to be a point where you need to move on with that state.
But it did do one thing, though, and that was that everybody said, I mean, we talked on the show 2 weeks ago about how, we got a 7-week break before Pennsylvania primary. Yeah. And this kind of gave something for people to focus on between now and then,
I guess we're now in what's called the silly season right now, where this type of stuff, the media and the blogs are looking for anything to latch on.
Did you notice, though, how quickly David Patterson, when he was sworn in as governor, and this is history because this is the 4th black governor the United States has ever had, 4th African-American governor in history. Second thing, it's the first legally blind governor that they've ever had. Plus, did you notice how quickly he came out and addressed it head-on that he had, of his past failings?
Yeah,
why?
Well, the reason is because he's got skeletons in his closets, too.
And just threw them right out on the table.
Well, yeah, it came out today, but it's all a bit... Let's switch gears here. Barack Obama, his campaign is in free fall. Let me give you some statistics, and then you can tell me where I'm wrong.
Got the Gallup poll?
Among independent voters, which is where the battles went. You got your folks on the left side, you got your folks on the right side, and they're going to vote Republican, and they're going to vote Democrat, and ain't nothing going to change that. It's the independents.
The purples.
The purples, that's where the battle is. Barack Obama was reaching those independents. Enter stage left, Reverend Wright. And video clip, DVD after DVD of Reverend Wright, and his going on about how the federal government introduced AIDS and interjected it into the African-American community, how, what were some of the other things that were listed on those? GD America.
September 11th?
GD, yeah, September 11th was coordinated, and all this kind of conspiracy theory thing, rolling tape after tape after tape, and those independents, which prior to this, Barack Obama was beating McCain by 10 points head-to-head with those independents. He has now given back those 10 points, and he's lost 8 points to the independents.
And
what is going on?
I think as was explained over the last couple of days by people more expert than me, analysts on many of all the networks, on the cable television shows, with the exception of the Fox Noise Network. I didn't realize they were a legitimate news organization.
Oh, Fox is legitimate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point of the polls that you're looking at today are perhaps a reaction from the alliance and the statements that have been made by Reverend Wright.
You think?
But the polls do not reflect the most eloquent and probably one of the most important speeches on race that was given perhaps in the last 40 years, some comparing to the importance of this speech by Barack Obama on Monday to those of Dr. Martin Luther King and the I Had a Dream speech. I mean, in terms of its eloquence, in terms of addressing the issue of race and equality in this country. So what we need to do is look a week from now at the polls a week from now to determine what the real impact of that was. Is there time to recover from it? Sure. premature. If you want to put the final nails in Senator Obama's political coffin and his stakes, let me just tell you, he's over 600,000 votes ahead of Senator Clinton in popular vote. He has twice as many victories in states through caucuses and primaries that have taken place to date. He is ahead in the delegate count, even with Pennsylvania looming a few weeks out. Likely those leads will continue to hold. There's North Carolina, Indiana, and several other states that will follow. Is it likely that either of those candidates may get to a 2025 or 2024, depending upon what's going to be needed in order to secure the Democratic nomination by the time of the convention? That's not certain at this point, and perhaps we're not going to know until the determination is made ultimately with Michigan and Florida. As we speak today, it doesn't look like Michigan's going to happen. Florida, who knows? Florida shouldn't participate in any election because they can't do it right. They messed up 2000. Obviously, they've messed up 2008 at the Democratic level by moving their primaries at a point.
I want to globalize something Gene said. No.
Let me just say this though. Let me just say I want to talk about. We were talking about Reverend Wright.
Yes.
And Senator Obama's connection to Reverend Wright.
Yes.
What's most appalling to me is the Vice President of the United States, when a question was posed to him about the fact that 2/3 of the American public oppose this war in Iraq and want to get us out of Iraq. His response to that reporter's question was, so?
Okay.
That says enough about this administration.
I want to globalize
and then we'll go to Al. Okay, go ahead.
I want to globalize.
And about a continuation of what we're looking at under Senator McCain, who I respect as well.
You make the point about the eloquent speech on race, and I agree it probably was. The problem is, when you're comparing it to Martin Luther King, you're talking about a different time. Did you notice these days?
Absolutely.
You notice that these days, and with due respect to the blogger...
And Matt, respectfully, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but when we talk about Governor Spitzer, we talk about Governor Rowland, we talk about Governor McGreevey, there have been scandals of all sorts throughout the course of American history.
It's a different time today.
It's a very different time today, but there have been all sorts of scandals.
And my point to that...
And this great American experiment that we know and cherishes democracy. I mean,
none of the three major candidates, Senator Clinton, Senator McCain, Senator Obama, can say much of anything without it being spun out the next day. Did you notice that?
Well,
it's worse now than it's ever been.
You have 24/7 news with the cable channel.
Obama referred to the other day, I didn't think it was that big a deal, he referred to his grandmother as a typical white woman. Well, everybody all of a sudden spun that out of control. Senator McCain had a gaffe about Iran and Al-Qaeda while he was over in the Middle East the other day.
There were a couple he had to be reminded by the...
My point is, though, that nobody can say anything without... I mean, you've got to watch what you say these days.
True. Al, you want to...
Two quick things. Those two gaffes were just major gaffes when you're saying Al-Qaeda and Iran, and thank goodness for Holy Joe Lieberman to be there to help them out and straighten them out. Two neocons. But
Joe Lieberman's our guy now, you know.
He's a great guy.
We're looking at the future Secretary of State right there.
Homeland Security. But
future Secretary of State, and then the Republican governor gets to appoint his replacement in the Senate.
Yeah, now that the Democrats lost the veto proof on the Senate, the law is not going to change.
Well, let's not go there. Go ahead, Al. You were going to say something.
Quick thing. Fox News poll came out today saying that by a 57 to 24% margin, most registered voters don't believe that Obama shares Reverend Wright's viewpoints.
Yeah.
Also, you know, other campaigns have other reverends or pastors that said outlandish things. Senator McCain, for instance, has John Hagee, who said some really outlandish things, blaming Katrina on homosexuals, calling the Catholic Church a cult. So, again, this is the
Speaking at Bob Jones University that didn't allow interracial dating, things like that.
Jerry Falwell, we can go on and on. We're in the middle of the silly season, and it's a long time to go until the convention comes up. And anything can happen between now and then. You know how politics goes. A week is a lifetime. So it's pretty hard to gauge anything right now.
Let me just give you a gauge. I'll give you a gauge for right now. Okay, you've got Barack Obama who is absolutely, I'm enchanted with the guy, to be honest with you. I think he's got a lot of good things to say. I not only listened to his speech, I didn't memorize it, but I went over it word by word. I think what he had to say, I think you hit it nail on the head. It's an incredible speech, and it's a call to a post-racial society. You know, when you can have a man, and this is what I talked about last time, where his grandmother, as we speak right now, is in a village in Kenya with a thatched roof and no shoes on, and her grandson is running for president, and he's probably going to get elected. It's a post-racial society. Now, wait a minute.
What side are you on, Marty? What side are you on? What side are you on?
I'm on the side of progress.
If you got any Ridgefield Republicans out there, call in. One of your leaders is betraying you right here on the air.
That's not true at all.
That is true. Where's Bob Casella? Bob Casella, could you call in, please?
Bob Casella just did call me.
Well, why didn't you answer?
All right. My point is, what he is calling for is a post-racial society, and I admire him for that. I disagree with a lot of his politics, but I admire him for that. And he has energized certainly the African-American minority community, not the Hispanic, and he's also energized a big portion of the Democratic Party. Unfortunately now, he's saddled with what Reverend Wright had to say, which frankly was sort of a peek inside the door. As he talks about, some of these things are expressed not in polite society, but in the barber shop and in some of these other areas where these things are reflected. And another time, and he mentioned this in his speech too, another time where this came out was when the O.J. Simpson verdict came out.
Right.
Remember that?
Right.
The response from a certain segment of the population was, yay, finally one of our guys, you know, didn't get put down, crushed by the system. And meanwhile, the other part of the
Justice
society
wasn't served.
This is unbelievable. The guy obviously got away with a double homicide. So let me just finish my thought, and I'll give you all the... Barack Obama is calling for us to get past that. He says it over and over again. He says, not this time, not this time. This time we're going to do something different. This time there's going to be a check on the African-American community for some of these bigoted racial opinions that they have that we saw. And there's got to be a check on the white community saying, you've got to recognize they have a different story than they have. We came over on the Mayflower because we wanted religious freedom. They came over in chains and had their families broken up. There's a different story, and there has to be some coming together. Will it cut mustard, though, in this political season? And I promise I'll be quiet, but the Democrats are running the risk. If Obama doesn't get the nomination, then all those people that were finding hope are going to, they're certainly not going to come out and vote for Hillary, because the machine will have crushed the young man with the spirit. And then if Hillary gets it and Obama doesn't, they're in big trouble. And meanwhile, McCain is over sipping tea at 10 Downing Street looking quite presidential. Right. That's what I see going on. Well, what are your thoughts? Did I wrap it up too much?
No,
Go ahead.
Gave us a lot here.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You set the table really well there, Marty.
If Hillary wins the nomination, it's because she's basically going to steal it in the convention with the superdelegates, and that's going to really anger. You're going to see 3,000 people up and walk right out of it.
No, I don't.
Walk out of any convention.
I mean,
okay.
Go ahead. I'll finish. I disagree with that.
I think what Obama was talking about is this. Another analogy I like to use is the Katrina situation that we had, where blacks really were, African Americans, were really upset at what they were seeing on TV, and they said, well, you know, if that happened in, let's say, Miami or Palm Beach, that wouldn't have gone down the way it went down. Race is definitely an issue in this society. We don't like to really talk about it that much, but it's really there. And, you know, people talk certain ways in barbershops. People talk certain ways in, you know, it's not just black and white, it's all different races. I think what Barack Obama said was a very good thing. I hope it resonates, but again, I just think it's way too early to say how this whole speech that he gave, or even the pastor's comment, is going to impact anything. I'd like to just give it some time. I mean, we're at a situation now where all the primaries were pushed so far up. We're in new territory right now. So it is
opening up a can of worms and putting it out on the table for everyone to
Well,
think
the Democratic Party expected that by Super Tuesday there would likely be a nominee. I mean, you go back into the fall of 2007, and it was clear to many that the inevitable nominee of the Democratic Party was going to be Senator Clinton.
And it was us that was going to be still fighting it out.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And here Senator McCain, rolled along well on the Republican side, secured the nomination early. The Democrats are doing what Democrats do well, and that's having that good inside battle that will air the issues.
So what
it'll
you're
give people a clear
saying
difference.
is this is just a good intramural argument within the Democratic Party. They're going to come out of it united and stronger than ever.
So far, Marty.
Okay, and you're saying
I'm saying
I'm saying war. And
well, it's not an uncivil war at this point. This is politics. It's hardball. There's a lot at stake for these folks and for this country and for the Democratic Party. But the bottom line is that if it goes on to the convention, depending upon what the results of the convention will be, could be divisive and could have an impact on the outcome of the general election. But I think it'll get resolved.
It could. I mean, when Gene stepped down as mayor, I mean, Gene served the city ably for 12 years. When he stepped down as mayor, there was no heir apparent in the Danbury Democratic Party. There was a primary season that had two very qualified candidates that were very good, had a lot of good ideas for the city. But Gene, in the end, in the primary, it ended up 50-50. The Democratic Party really didn't know what they wanted. And I'm not saying that either one was a bad candidate or wounded or that one didn't support the other, but I think that going through that, it definitely took its toll and paved the way for a Republican mayor for the first time in a dozen years. I mean, it definitely does. I mean, and I don't see the 3,000 people walking out of the convention, no matter if Senator Clinton or Obama gets the nomination.
Roll this forward for us. Give us the kumbaya conclusion for the Democratic primary season, whereby there's harmony and everyone comes together.
Al Gore declared.
But go ahead.
Whatever needs to be done needs to be done fairly. There shouldn't be any broker backroom deals with the cigars and all that stuff. If anything gets nasty on the floor, it could become a problem. But if it's done fairly, if we come to a good conclusion that everybody can agree on, then whatever happens, happens. I'm just a little worried about how ugly this race is getting between Clinton and Obama. But again, we're so early in the game. We're not even in April yet.
Okay, I mean, I'm not hearing anything conclude. Give me the everyone comes together for a group hug scenario.
I believe it gets resolved before the convention. And the Democratic Party will be unified, and I believe we'll be successful in November.
That's the thing. You guys have an ideal opportunity. I mean, you have an economy that's in trouble. You have people losing their houses. You have not...
Again, who are you campaigning for?
Well, we have. I mean, and again, I'm not saying this to be partisan, but we've had 8 years of just an amazing time in history. I think, and this presidency, I think, will go down and. Long after I'm gone from this earth as one of the most devastating and horrendous presidencies in the history of the United States.
George Bush's presidency.
Absolutely. We have been lied to. I can go on, but that's not what we're talking about here tonight. But and what we're talking about going forward. Now, let me just say this about Senator McCain.
Quickly.
He's a patriot. He's a hero. Respect him. Do not agree with his position on a variety of issues, but nonetheless, I think it'll be a good-spirited campaign come November.
We need to wish a happy Easter and very good luck to Governor Patterson, I think.
Yeah, Patterson's going to need it. Al Robinson, Your Honor.
Thank you,
Matt Grimes, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us on Ideas at Work and Beyond. To be continued.
Go Memphis.
Go Memphis, go UConn, and the Ducks. That's the sleeper in the NCAA pool. But thanks.
What about UNC, the Tar Heels?
UNC is going to win it all, but the Ducks are going to do good.
I did pick Memphis. I picked Memphis over UNC in the final. What did you pick?
Duke almost got beat.
I got this. I haven't.
Did they finally win?
They won, yeah.
They did.
This my final four is North Carolina, Wisconsin, UConn, and Stanford. And North Carolina going on.
Unfortunately, UConn choked too close to the end for me. And it was. I think that I got Memphis over UNC in the end.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game.
Was that Calipari, right? That's their coach?
UNC, no.
Memphis' coach is Calipari.
Yeah, still UMass coach.
All right, so that guy was calling in and hacking on you about Betsy or something like that?
What the heck was that all about? Why did he do that? I told you to screen those calls.
I let him...